Welcome to CBS Sports HQ Spotlight. I am Jenny Delamanda Guerra, going to join us a little bit later on this afternoon. It's about that time. NFL free agency almost here. March 11th, the league year officially begins. The teams across the league are preparing for some big roster shakeups of the offseason. That's what we have our eyes on here at CBS. One of the most fascinating divisions to watch might just be the NFC North. All four teams finished 2025 with winning records. They're firmly in the playoff mix. Last season, what could that mean for this year? The Bears looking to pass rush help, maybe? The Lions addressing their O-line? There are some major moves coming our way. To break down the NFC North and the top free agents that are out there that they might just snag up, let's bring in Ryan Wilson, John Breech. Guys, so excited to have you here. And we're going to start with the Chicago Bears. The Bears took a huge step in year one under Ben Johnson, going 11-6, winning a playoff game after a 5-12 season the year before that. Ryan, give me your top free agent priority for Chicago this offseason.
Yeah, hey, Jenny, good to see you. Good to see you, John. They don't have a ton of salary cap space to work with, so they have to do that math to figure things out. But I'm going to go, once again, bargain basement shopping. Brees was making fun of me a few days ago for being in the aisles of Walmart. But this is a steal in Reed Blankenship, the safety out of Philadelphia, who was a big part of their secondary. Spent a lot of time talking about Quinyon and a lot of time talking about Cooper DeJean. Reed Blankenship was the captain of that secondary, and I think he makes a lot of sense in Chicago, where Jaquan Brisker, Jonathan Owens, Elijah Hicks, all are going to be free agents, and he'll come at a relative cost savings. It won't be a $20 million a year type situation. You can get him relatively cheaply. He's going to be a great player, and I think that would go a long way in solving problems in the secondary, and it would mean they wouldn't have to use draft picks to address that position as well. Edge rush is obviously a popular pick for them. Right tackle could be another option, or left tackle, excuse me. They have Darnell Wright. But Reed Blankenship, safety, feels like a cost-effective move.
Yeah, Ryan, you have been rummaging through garage sales all week, and you can find some great stuff at garage sales, so I'm not going to knock that. But me, I am emptying out the bank account every time I come up with a free agent. And for the Chicago Bears, I have Tyler Linderbaum. Now, if you would have asked me this question 24 hours ago, Linderbaum would not have even been on my radar. But obviously, we saw what happened in Chicago with Drew Dalman suddenly deciding to retire out of nowhere. And so that leaves the Bears with a gaping hole at center. And it's a position where I think Ben Johnson is going to try and convince the front office to go out and spend big, because he knows how important it is for his offensive line to really function together if his offense is going to work. We saw it when he was the offensive coordinator in Detroit. As soon as he got to Chicago, they went out and got Dalman. They traded for Joe Thuney. So we know that Ben Johnson is going to want some high-caliber players on the line, and there is no one more high-caliber available at center than Tyler Linderbaum.
You got to shore up the O-line, that is for sure. That offense around Caleb Williams, it looks loaded. All right, moving on. Next up, we got Green Bay, the Packers. They made that big swing last year, trading for Micah Parsons. What's a big move you could see them making this year, Ryan?
Yeah, I don't think anyone on planet Earth has the move that I have, so I will at least revel in the originality, Jenny. I'm going with Marcus Mariota. And you might say, hey, dum-dum, they have Jordan Love. They don't need a quarterback. I would counter with Jordan Love got banged up last year, and Malik Willis came in and did a really good job to the point that he's going to get paid $25 million per year. Marcus Mariota did the exact same thing last year when Jaden Daniels missed much of the season. And if you want to be a legit Super Bowl contender, a team that can make deep playoff runs, you have to have your backup quarterback situation sorted. We saw the 49ers do that when they got Mac Jones on that 2-year deal where he's making, I think, $2.5 million a year. Marcus Mariota reproved himself as a starting caliber quarterback in a pinch in Washington, and I think he would make a ton of sense on the cheap. And Breech, I'm back at the garage sale, and I found me a Marcus Mariota special for the Green Bay Packers.
Hey, Ryan, I actually don't hate that. And if you are a team out there looking for a backup quarterback, that means you don't have any gaping holes on the roster. So that's actually good news here that Ryan's here doing some bargain basement shopping. The Packers just have some positions where maybe they need to upgrade because they don't have huge holes. So I have them taking or signing Jamel Dean from the Buccaneers. You look at their cornerback situation. They do have some decent corners, Keyshawn Nixon, Nate Hobbs. They have guys that played okay last year, but I think that's a position where they want to get better. You look at their front seven. They obviously made that home run trade that Jenny mentioned for Micah Parsons, and all of a sudden that defense just got 10 times better with Parsons there. So now they just need to improve the secondary. And if they improve the back half of that defense, Green Bay could have one of the best defensive units going into 2026. And I think adding Jamel Dean would certainly help.
They did allow 117.7 rushing yards per game, ranking 18th in the NFL last season. Before we move on, is this just like your personality? Like, Ryan, you like, you know, the garage sales, and John, you're just like fancy pants walking around the Boca Mall?
Not typically. My wife would tell you that I waste a lot of money on stupid stuff. But for some reason, when it comes to free agency, I'm a penny pincher.
When it's not
Jenny,
your money.
Ryan's wearing a hoodie he got for free at the Combine. I'm wearing a collared shirt. That kind of explains everything here.
It's perfect. That is spot on. All right, let's talk about Detroit and the Lions. They could have some serious questions along the O-line this offseason. Ryan, how much of a priority is rebuilding the O-line, or are you going in another direction when it comes to needs of free agency?
It is a priority, but I'm now preoccupied with my spending habits, so I'm going to have a deep conversation with myself when we're done with this. But I'm going to go on the other side of the ball. O-line is a real issue here. I'll let Big Money John take care of that. I'm going to go defense. And Devin Bush, which is a name I didn't think I was going to bring up as a Steelers fan, the former first-round pick in 2019, who suffered an ACL injury his second or third year in Pittsburgh and sort of hit the skids. He rediscovered himself in Cleveland last year, had 125 tackles, had 2 interceptions, 2 of which both were returned to the house, had a couple of sacks. And in Detroit, you're having Alexander Zalone hit free agency, Zach Cunningham. They have a couple other guys, Malcolm Rodriguez, who are going to be free agents. And Devin Bush would solidify the middle of that defense. You can still get edge rush help, obviously, for Aiden Hutchinson, and maybe you do that in the draft. Maybe you address the offensive line or even cornerback in the draft. But Devin Bush feels like a good player to target, and he shouldn't be too expensive. And he's coming off one of his best years, if not his best year, in the NFL since getting drafted 10th overall back in 2019.
Yeah, when you look at the Lions, they need defensive help. But as Jenny said, the offensive line is where they need to spend some money. We saw Frank Ragnow retire a couple years ago, and they tried to fill that hole at center by giving the job to Graham Glasgow. And what happened there? Well, he got cut this week. So obviously they're kind of back at square one. They need to figure out what to do. They did make a trade for Juice Scruggs when they sent David Montgomery to Houston, but it doesn't feel like he's going to be the starting center. He's just kind of a depth piece there that can help you on the interior offensive line. So normally I would spend all the money I could and send Tyler Linderbaum to Detroit, but I already sent him to Chicago, so I can't do that here. I'm going to go with the next best center in free agency and go with Connor McGovern. He was in Buffalo the last few years. It sounds like they're on the outs. He is going to become a free agent on March 11th, and if I'm the Lions, he is one of the first phone calls I am making, because this is an offense that's just so timing is important. The play of the offensive line is really what keeps this offense functioning. Jared Goff is not a guy who's running around making plays like Patrick Mahomes, so you need the offensive line to be able to protect for the quarterback. And getting Connor McGovern in there, one of the, not just the top tier center in free agency, but one of the top centers in the NFL. When someone like that becomes available, you got to see what you can do. And the Lions would be smart to give him a call and try and sign him.
John, I feel like you're an agent for centers in this block here on CBS Sports HQ Spotlight, but that might give us a little insight into where we're going to go with the Vikings, but we'll ask first. You look at this Minnesota team. Brian Flores, his defense was excellent against the pass, second in the NFL, allowing just 158 yards per game last season. But they struggled creating turnovers, finishing with only 8 interceptions. So, Ryan, I want your take first. Do you think they need some help on the defensive side over there?
Yeah, and guess what? I'm going to find you guys a bargain, and you're going to be glad that I did. I will point this out. Here's the thinking as I defend myself for being cheap. They are way over the cap, so they have to find cost-cutting measures anyway. I suggested Martin Emerson as a target here. He suffered the Achilles injury last year, so that's obviously not great, but he should be ready to go. And he was a big-time player on a really good defense the last few years for Jim Schwartz. And you talk about Brian Flores and the ability to get the most out of his players. They have a ton of guys that are whose contracts are going to be up on defense. Harrison Smith obviously is probably going to retire and be a future Hall of Famer at some point. But Jeffrey Okudah, Fabian Moreau are also expiring contract guys who play cornerback. And if you can get Martin Emerson for relatively cheap, and I think they can, and if he's healthy, he would be a great plug-and-play guy as they continue to rebuild that secondary. But again, if they had billions of dollars in cap space to work with, I would certainly be a big spender here, guys, but I went the frugal route, Breech.
Well, as Jenny noted, I am the official agent for all centers, so I'm going to give the Vikings a center too. Why not? I'm going to give them Tyler Biadasz from the Commanders, who just got cut recently. You look at the Vikings, they went out, tried to sign Ryan Kelly last year, brought him in. He battled injuries, missed a lot of games, dealt with multiple concussions. He's probably not going to be back in Minnesota, so the Vikings need to fill that hole, and Biadasz does it. I mean, he's unexpectedly available, so we could be looking at 3 NFC North teams that could have new centers this year. That makes it a lot more fun, right, Jenny?
You get a center, and you get a center, and you get a center. I'm Oprah over here, just giving everyone centers. I do want to ask a question, though, and I'm just throwing this one out there. There has been some rumors, some reports that Kyler Murray could potentially be linked to the Vikings. Now, this is fascinating on many levels. Could you see this happening, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely, because Kevin O'Connell has been the quarterback whisperer, and the counter would be, well, what happened with J.J. McCarthy? And maybe this is just as good as J.J. McCarthy is going to be. But after seeing what Sam Darnold did 2 years ago, and then obviously winning the Super Bowl a few weeks ago, you are going to be looking for upgrades at the quarterback position. And guys, fit matters, right? Sam Darnold's an example, Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones before he got hurt. And if Kevin O'Connell thinks he can get the most out of Kyler Murray, he has been more consistent than J.J. McCarthy over the course of his career. He's just battled injuries and the video game clause. Other than that, I feel like there's a lot left on the bone in terms of him as a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I think this would be very interesting because Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy have very different skill sets. You look at what Kevin O'Connell has worked with during his time in Minnesota. It's more of a classic pocket passer, whether it was Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy. So it would be something new. But as Ryan said, Kevin O'Connell is the quarterback whisperer, and I'd actually love to see what he could do with Kyler Murray. And I think Murray could be successful in Minnesota. I am very intrigued by that possible pairing.
Ooh, all right. Ryan, Wilson, John Breech, don't go anywhere, guys. We got much more to come from you as we just broke down the NFC North top free agents, what we could potentially see happening. Right now, looking at the odds to win the NFC North, and it is the Lions that are on top. Only by a little bit, though. Plus 165 for the Lions, followed closely by the Packers at plus 170.